The game you're about to see is arguably one of the most accurate that I have ever played in a tournament. Magnus Carlsen probably does this all the time, but I am not him. I'm not a grandmaster, and I generally make mistakes somewhere along the line. But in the game you're about to see, chess.com says I did not even have a single inaccuracy. That's no blunders, no mistakes, no inaccuracies in a game that was over 30 moves long. This is extremely rare for me, and I'm going to share the game with you right now. Let's take a look. So this is round 2 from the Texas State Open. I was playing against Patrick Perry, rated 1834 FIDE, and I played the move e4. He played the Sicilian, and I decided to just play something solid, and I went for knight f3 and bishop to b5 check. Now, I used to play this a lot in the past when I was a kid growing up. This is what I always would play, and I had pretty good results with it. And so I decided to bring it back here. He played bishop to d7. There's 3 options. You can block the check with either the knight or with the bishop. I thought about playing the move a4 here with the idea of if they take, I take back, and the pawn's kind of annoying. Stops the knight from developing, opens up the rook. But I knew it wasn't the best move, and I actually knew that taking is the engine move here, so I went ahead and played it. And he took back with the knight, which is fine, but most stronger players are actually taking with the queen, and the idea is that the knight is better placed on c6 because it controls more of the center as opposed to d7. Now, of course, this is not a bad move. That's acceptable, but in general, the stronger players are taking with the queen. I played the move d4. Now, one of the advantages of the knight, from my perspective as white, one of the advantages for me with this knight being on d7 is that now when I play d4 and they take, I can actually take back with the queen, and I don't have to worry about the knight going to c6 and chasing my queen away. So my queen is very powerful in the center of the board. So I went ahead and went for this line. Knight f6. I played knight c3, just developing. He played g6. And now I had to make a decision on how to develop this bishop. There's a lot of places that I could go to. E3, f4, g5. d2 probably doesn't make as much sense because you don't want to block the rook here. So I decided to go to g5. This is marked as a good move, I believe, which is one of the worst moves in the game for me, okay, because it's a good move. Bishop to g7, and I castled. Now, Stockfish says you can really castle either direction here and be okay, and I just decided to go with kingside castling. Again, good move. So these 2 moves are probably the worst moves in the game for me, okay? That being said, my king is nice and safe over here, and black castles as well. I played queen to d2, getting out of the line of fire from that bishop, right? Because that knight could have moved wherever it wanted to and created an attack on my queen. So I dropped back, created the battery here. This is a pretty common idea when you're facing a fianchettoed bishop like this. You can create a battery, you can come down here, you can trade it off, and it makes the king a little bit weaker. So I was potentially setting that up in the future. My opponent played knight to c5, which is attacking my pawn. So 2 attackers, 1 defender. And so I played the most natural move here, rook to e1, just defending the pawn. And right here, my opponent actually played a move that surprised me. I was not expecting this move, but he played the move b5. And the idea is that if I take this pawn, then I'm no longer defending the center pawn. He's going to come jumping in here, and it's also forking these pieces, which is a big deal because after I move my queen, he's going to get that bishop. And now this bishop is a monster, and I have no way to attack it. You will notice when the bishop is fianchettoed like this, knights cannot attack it, right? A knight cannot go on any of these squares because it would just get captured by the pawns. So the bishop is basically, I just can't do anything about it without my dark square bishop. So that's why this is a very bad position for me, okay? So we cannot take the pawn, right? But what I noticed is that I could play the move e5. And the point is I'm counterattacking here. Well, this is the point. My first reaction was I need to defend the pawn. But then I was like, well, how do I defend it? There's not really an easy way to do that, right? I mean, I could add a defender with the queen, but that doesn't make sense because once he chases the knight away, he's still going to be able to take it. I didn't really have a good solution. So I was like, well, let's push the pawn forward. It's no longer a target because it's moved off of the square, right? And we start to create pressure on black's position. And here he played another move that surprised me. b4, just attacking again. And I started to really calculate because there's some really interesting lines here where I could take and get a fork here and actually even get a queen back on d8. The problem is I don't think any of those lines work. So for example, this is one of the things that I was calculating. If I take, he takes my knight, let's just say. If I were to take this, he's going to take my queen. And even though I take his queen and get a new queen, it's not good enough because this pawn is here going to capture with check. And then when the dust settles, and the dust settles, you will notice I'm down a piece. He has an extra piece. So unfortunately, that little line doesn't work. And I checked some other options, like, for example, taking here, sacrificing my queen like this. But again, when the dust settles, I mean, okay, I have a bishop and a rook for a queen, but why would I want to sacrifice my queen? I don't really have any attack. It just doesn't make sense. Okay, so what I decided to do was to go ahead and take. And my plan was that after this, I was just going to take with the queen. And he takes back, and maybe we trade, or I move my bishop, something like this, right? And actually, that's what happened in the game, except we did a different move order. So he captured here first, which is attacking both pieces. I saved the bishop, and now he took my knight. And I took back, and here's my idea. If he plays the move f5, which he didn't play, but if he would have played f5, I can now play bishop to d4. And I deal with this powerful bishop by basically saying, look, now I'm going to trade it off, right? And that's very, very important, because if I didn't have this move, this bishop is going to be a monster with the rook and maybe another rook coming over here. There's going to be so much pressure on my queen side, right? So that's what I did. Let's see. He played rook c8 first, and he's creating this x-ray on my queen, but I realized I don't need to move the queen, because if the knight moves here or here, I just take it with the queen, right? If the knight moves here, okay, I'll have time to move my queen somewhere. If the knight moves here, okay, I'll have time to move my queen somewhere. And it didn't look that dangerous. So I played the best move according to the engine, rook a to d1, bringing in the last piece that's not really doing something and putting it on a really nice square in the center and targeting the pawn. So you will notice, after this b5, b4, a bunch of trade shenanigans that happened, my pawn structure remained perfect, basically. His pawn structure, meanwhile, is now ruined because there's some isolated pawns that are weaknesses, right? So overall, I'm feeling pretty good about my position. Now, the engine thinks it's still equal, which is interesting, but from a positional standpoint, I was like, this looks fine for me. He played the move f5, attacks my queen, and I found a nice square over here on a3. Now, why is this a nice square? Well, when a queen is positioned like this against a knight with one diagonal square in between, the knight cannot attack it for at least 3 moves. 1, 2, 3. Or 1, 2, 3, something like that, which is great. I don't have to worry about it getting attacked. Also, it's away from the bishop. Also, a rook can't attack it because there's no open file. Also, the queen is putting pressure on these squares, and it's just a nice little square for the queen. So queen a3. Okay. He played knight to e4, and the rook is attacking my pawn. The bishop is still here. And so I played the most obvious move, c3. Just shutting down the bishop a little bit, shutting down the rook, keeping everything nice and defended. This is one of the advantages of having your pawns connected and not isolated, because they can support each other. They can help each other, right? And that's what's happening here. He played rook e8, and I played bishop d4, just offering a trade of bishops. So I figured my bishop is not doing a ton. I mean, yes, it's attacking this pawn. By the way, I should maybe mention that. Why did I not take the pawn? The problem with this is he's going to pin me. And this is a very nasty pin, because I can't move my queen away because I lose the bishop. I can't move the bishop away because I lose the queen. And so my pieces are now stuck. And by the way, he's probably just going to attack it with one of these pieces and take it next move, and I'm just going to be down a piece. So that's why I didn't want to take with the bishop. And taking with the queen, same deal, rook a8, and now his rook is going to invade on the second rank. That is not what you want to allow. And so I was in no hurry to take that pawn. So bishop to d4. And, the engine says he should take this, but practically this was going to be great for me. I could take either way, probably with the rook, doubling up, just targeting the pawn. This is targeted. It's just a really nice position for me. And so I think he made a good practical decision. He played the move bishop h6, and he's basically saying, no, we're not going to trade, and I'm going to try to attack you over here, right? This was, I imagined, what his plan was, okay? So now I realized I needed to actually come up with an idea, because he does have this really powerful knight. His pieces are pretty well positioned, and if he's able to play g5, g4, chase my knight away, let's just say, I don't even know where the knight's going to go, but I'm going to have to worry about queen h4. There's a knight here that the pawns are pushed. Like this could be dangerous, right? I have to be careful. And so I think I found a nice move here. Queen to a6. Now, what's the point of this move? Well, if you guys would like to pause, how does queen a6 help deal with his attack on the king side? That's what you need to figure out. So go ahead and pause the video. Try to think about that. All right, so if you had a chance to think about that, basically what my idea is, it's twofold. number one, I'm putting the queen in a position where if I need to, I can easily come back to the king side and help defend. That's an option that's there at any moment if I need it. Okay. Over here, it's kind of stuck, right? The pawn is blocking and I can't really get back. So that's one thing. The other thing, which I'm very proud that I saw this idea because I don't think this is an easy idea to see. He actually did play g5 in the game. And there's one move that Stockfish really likes, and this is what I played, and this is what I saw. Queen to b5. And this is something that I've really struggled with in the past, finding these kind of random queen moves where it's like the queen just goes to a square and you're like, oh, I didn't really think about that. And so I was actually very proud of myself that I found this. What's the point? Well, I'm attacking this pawn on f5, which is now a weakness because he's pushed his pawn forward. And it turns out you can't defend that easily. Queen d7, nope, I'll take it. Queen f6 would defend the pawn, but nope, my bishop will take it. The knight can't move anywhere that defends it. The rook can't move here because I just take it. He has no way to defend the pawn. I guess you could push it forward, but then I think I was going to play queen f5. Yeah, and my queen now has come over to the king side. It's attacking everything. It's controlling a whole bunch of important squares. Like, I'm doing great. And so this queen b5 move was actually a phenomenal move. And now black is kind of in a tough spot. He played d5, trying to block it off. And here I think I found another nice move. What do you think I played? All right, well, it's actually bishop takes a7. And it's an interesting move. I mean, of course, it's a free pawn, but it's more important than that. It's the important part is that I'm attacking on d5 with my queen and rook and creating more threats on black's position. Like, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take this, and it's going to come with a tempo. The fact that I took a pawn over here, it's like, yeah, whatever. I mean, that's not a big deal, right? But I was really proud that I had this move. And one of the lines that I was looking at was g4. Initially, I was going to jump my knight to d4. And I realized that if he tried to come here and put pressure here, I actually have this move, knight takes f5, which is a beautiful move because it's forking these pieces. And check it out, the bishop that's sitting over there now defends this pawn, right? So that's pretty cool. So this is what I was looking at, and this was kind of my idea. And he did play g4, continuing to attack, but I actually found and played an even better move than knight to d4. What's the move? Well, I kind of already mentioned it earlier, but we're attacking on d5. So I just took it. I just took it with the rook. Because if he takes my knight, I'm taking his queen. And he doesn't really have much of an attack, right? So the other nice thing about this is his queen has to move somewhere. I didn't really want the queen coming close to my king, so I'd have to worry about getting checkmated. Notice my knight is stopping that. So I'm taking advantage of the fact before I have to move my knight away that his queen can't go there. And so that's why rook takes e5 was a great move. Okay, so rook takes e5. He plays queen e7, which is a bit of a mistake. Queen c7, according to the engine, is better, but I'm already actually totally winning. What do you think I played in this position? All right, well, there's only one move that's really, really powerful, and it is rook to e5. And the reason this is so, well, let me explain. So he's attacking my bishop, right? If I try to save the bishop by like just moving it somewhere, my knight is going to get captured. Stockfish says not right away. He's going to throw in this rook move first and then take the knight for some reason. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. But the point is I have two pieces under attack, okay? So that's what I have to kind of figure out how I'm going to deal with this, right? But I noticed that if he played queen at e7, I could play rook e5. And the problem for black is that now if you take the bishop, which is I think what he did, yeah, he took it in the game, the rook is attacked twice and only defended once. So he gets the bishop, but he loses a rook. And it comes with check, which means I have time to save my knight. And so I captured here. He blocked. There is a threat on f2, which is a pretty big deal. It's not checkmate, but it's pretty close. So I have to be careful here with my next move. So I played knight to d4, blocking off the queen from getting to that pawn. He captured. I took the pawn on f5. It's a free pawn. Why not? Brings the knight into the attack. He captured on b2. And if you would like to pause, how did I finish out the game from here? There's a very forcing line. If you would like to try to find it. All right, so first things first, I could just take the knight and be up a rook, which is totally winning, and that would have been absolutely fine. If you played queen takes e4, you're going to win the game. But I noticed this forcing line, which is a little bit better, according to the engine. Knight h6 check. This is pinned, so he can't take me. If he goes here, that's checkmate. So only move is king g7. But then I can take here with check. Again, that's going to be checkmate. So he captured the knight. But now I can take this with check. And this is a much better position because I'm still going to be able to probably get the knight back. I have to be a little careful. I'm not going to, get back rank mated. But there's a nice line that I calculated earlier too with after here, I have a bunch of nice checks. So let me actually just show you. If he goes here, I can go check, sorry, not there, check here. And this is important because this allows him to block with the knight. It's still winning for me, but then he can survive a little bit longer. So we're going to go check here, which is a fork, and we take the knight. And if he would have gone to g6, same kind of deal. We can go check and take the knight. So king g5. I noticed I could play queen g7 check, forcing the king. And there's an interesting line here that led to a checkmate. Let me see if I can remember what it was. I think it was king f4. I was going to go, yeah, g3 check was a cool one. G3 check. And if he comes up, rook e3 is checkmate. So I just wanted to make sure that the king wasn't going to be able to walk its way up and cause me problems, but I saw that I could play g3 and rook e3 checkmate. So back to the game. He played king h5. I took the pawn, and then I took the knight. And right here, my opponent resigned. Obviously, I have an extra rook. There's not really much black can do at this point. So 34 move game. Let me actually show you guys the game review here. According to chess.com, this is what it looks like. 98.6. I'm very proud of this game. Like I said, primarily because of that moment when I found that queen move, queen to b5. And then even rook takes d5. Like, because if you don't find those moves, the game could have been much more difficult. Like, it looked easy, but it's because I found some moves that I think a lot of times I would have missed those moves. So I was really proud of myself for finding that. My opponent didn't play a bad game. I mean, he mostly played logical moves and did things that you would expect. I just found some really nice moves, I think. And so, yeah, really proud of this game. Good start to the tournament so far. We'll see if I can keep it up in the next round. You're not going to want to miss the next game. Trust me when I say that. It's, well, I don't want to spoil it. I'll see you in round 3. Thank you, guys.